Hey, Chris Murphy here with yet another walk around video. We're going to walk around today the Mahindra 1626. This is actually a hydrostat model. This is one of the most popular selling tractors, quickly becoming one of the top selling models that Mahindra has got. 1626 has been a great tractor for them, been a great tractor for us. Very trouble-free tractor. We're going to start off on this, well, again, walk around video. This is not a sales pitch. This is if you've got a 1626, you've got questions. Hey, I can't find my engine oil dipstick, which later in this video you're going to see, because it is a hard dipstick to see if you don't know where to look for it. So we're going to show you that, but this is not a sales pitch. This is to give people that have already got this tractor a little bit more terminology, maybe a little bit of a refresher when they bought their tractor and their salesman walked around it with them, showing them engine oil dipsticks, hydraulics, where to check, where to fill, where to grease, that kind of thing. So hopefully this is just a little bit of refresher course for those folks. If you're interested in buying a 1626, this is exactly what I do on the lot when I'm showing a guy a tractor or a lady a tractor. I'm gonna go over it pretty much exactly like what we're gonna do in this video, but yet again, I try not to have this as a sales pitch as much as this is a refresher course for folks that can't find it in the operator's manual, or they just have to, they can't quite communicate to their dealer what they need, what the question is, because a lot of people are just not as familiar. Don't hesitate to call on us. We'll try to give you a haircut over the telephone if we can. You just can't hardly do that, but like I say, let's get on some of the same lingo here doing this walk around. So let's start at the front. Loaders. Every Mahindra loader that we sell new does have a quick attach loader. Comes off and on, no tools. The big trick on that is firm, flat, level ground. I always make my customers sing it with me 3 or 4 times. Firm, flat, level ground. The buckets are universal skid steer coupled. So you're gonna pull the 2 handles up, drop your bucket, and reattach into your whatever attachment that you've got. Talking about attachments, it is universal skid steer. If it'll fit on a skid steer, it will fit on the front of this. Now that doesn't mean that you have enough hydraulics to run, say, a forestry mulcher that you'd run on a skid steer. So like I say, just because it'll fit doesn't mean you've got enough hydraulics to run something, okay? So make sure and performance match your attachments to the tractor. If you have a question, talk to your salesman, talk to your dealership. Glad for you to talk to us, even if you didn't buy one from us. We'll try to point you in the right direction. So right here on the quick coupler, on the skid steer coupler, I want you to see something right here. Right down in here, as I pull this handle up, you can see how that pin slides in and out. You can see it moving there, okay? You need to keep that area clean. You need to keep a little spray penetrant on that. Just keep it moving. When you're walking past the barn and there's your tractor, don't hesitate to just work the handles up and down. Just make sure that's not freezing up, because it is kind of a booger when they do freeze up. Not a regular common occurrence, but if you're handling fertilizer and that kind of stuff, I guess folks up north with a little salt, that kind of stuff, that can be a booger. And a lot of folks around here, we change to grapples, we put on forks, we do a lot of different things on the front end of our tractors. So you want your coupler working. Now, talking about greasing, you do have grease fittings on every joint on that loader. Anything that moves on that loader is gonna grease. All the joints on the loader grease. Now, you do have a long loader frame on this tractor, and it's also tied all the way back to the back of the tractor. I like that, gives it a lot of strength. When you look at a lot of competitors, their loader frame is no wider than that. That puts all the stress right in the middle of a tractor. That's not the right place to have stress. So Mahindra spreads that load out and actually ties it to the rear. That is a fantastic way to mount a loader. A lot of other manufacturers do the same thing, but like I say, some of the big guys don't. I'm not gonna say who, but you be the judge. Use your own eyes, you can see. Now, that's the loader. Let's go to the hitch. Reach up here and let this down just a little. Okay. Got your 3-point hitch category 1 right here. You do have telescoping stabilizers. I really like a telescoping stabilizer. What you have to be careful of though, a stabilizer is not strong when it's pushed like this. If that stabilizer doesn't catch like that, pulling against itself before this one binds, you could easily bend or break that. If this one doesn't catch that way, before this one binds. That's when that one's gonna break. So you want your stabilizers tight when you get something hooked up. And I say tight, you can have some motion, but just remember, one's gotta catch before the other one really gets in a bind. You got your drawbar right here. You got one pin to remove it. It does have a place to store the drawbar behind the seat with a wing nut there to hold it there and keep it from rattling. I really like that feature that you can get it out of there and out of your way. It does come with a top link. Some of the other models, you know, have a sight glass in the back for the transmission, differential fluid, axle fluid. Got a dipstick on this one up in the front we're gonna see in just a few minutes. SMV mounted, I think, where it should be, right in the middle, and it's not impeding your view from either side. You do have a toolbox here. Let's get on to some of the controls. Every one of these videos, when I look at it, I just always remember, that is a good seat. I like the Mahindra seat. They do have armrest, but it's a very comfortable seat. Cushiony, it's got a little lumbar support there. I really do like that. I like the fact you've got a retractable seat belt. Doesn't dangle down beside the seat. Now, right here is your 3-point hitch control. The only way to adjust the speed of how fast a hitch goes up is by applying more throttle. The more the engine is running, the higher the engine's running, the faster the hydraulic pump is turning, giving you more flow. So if you're down here to idle and you pull this up, that hitch is going to creep up. That loader is going to be much slower. As you raise the RPMs up into the operating range, all your hydraulics are going to work quicker, going up on the hitch, because you don't have down pressure like you do on the loader. So as you drop this down, the only thing really adjusting the speed on that is how fast you move the lever, how heavy the implement is, and how far open you have the restrictor. That is like a needle valve on the return side. If you see this decal, I'm not sure you can focus in on that, but as you turn this open, unscrewed, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, as you back that out, unscrewed, on the return side, as you come down with a hitch, there's plenty of room for that fluid just to flow out. So that implement is going to drop very quickly. As you turn it in, righty-tighty, as you turn it in, that needle valve, you're turning it in like this. So the further you get in there, the more restriction you've got, so the slower that implement's gonna be. But where people mess up, they get this thing down really, really close. They get off and their foot drags across it, it goes to lock. Well, now with it locked, your hitch will go up. Chris, my 3-point hitch won't come down. I got a bush hog up in the air. Well, think about what you're doing. Crank the tractor back up, raise up, hopefully taking the pressure off of that. You can open this back up a little further, push down, and then it's going to come down. You've just bumped it with your foot or whatever. You had too much restriction there. Now, this does have a hex-headed shaft here. You could put a wrench on that, but I always recommend that you put the hitch in the raised position with it running to take the pressure off of that before you do. Okay. A while ago at the back, we talked about where to check your hydraulics. Got an simple dipstick right here, right below the seat. If you need to add hydraulics, it's got a plug right here. 4-wheel drive, up's 2-wheel drive, down's 4-wheel drive. Now this is a hydrostatic transmission, okay? So your right foot going forward, right heel going back. So they've moved your differential lock to this side, making the rear end pull positive traction. Now, like I say, we said we had heel toe, forward and reverse on the transmission. You've got ranges here, low, medium, and high. You don't shift that on the fly. You come to a stop, put your foot on the brake, then shift this. If it doesn't shift, it's just because it's kind of like this. It's not wanting to go in. You may have to feather forward, let off the brake, let it roll forward or back, and it'll get in groove and it'll go like that. Just don't force it. Give it a little feather, it'll fall right in gear every time. 4-wheel drive is the same way. 4-wheel drive, you're trying to push it down and it doesn't want to move. All it means is you're not coupled up. Let it roll a little bit, falls right in. Okay, hydrostat. There again, RPMs. As you push the pedal further in either direction, it's going to go faster. As you push that pedal further, you're putting more angle on the swash plate, pulling valves out further, requiring more fluid. So if you're sitting there at idle, you don't have any power. You've got to run your RPMs. Run your RPMs up. PTO speed on this tractor, where your PTO is running 540, is about 2,400. So when you're bush hogging, running a tiller, anything on the drive line on the PTO, you want to be 540 RPMs back there, so your engine's got to be turning 2,400 or better. Again, I think you're better off wide open throttle is not enough. However, you're doing a box blade, doing loader work, whatever, you don't have PTO going. Well, in my opinion, you still ought to be at least 2,000 RPM, letting that hydraulic pump provide what you need on the transmission. I'm a hydrostat fan. Some people are, some people aren't. I'm just a hydrostat fan. It takes a lot of the operator error out of it. You don't have to worry about somebody generally riding the clutch. You don't have to worry about somebody getting synchronizers by not mashing the clutch or mashing the clutch at the same time they shift. I'm a hydro guy. People don't understand how common hydros are. If you buy a new bulldozer, excavator, combine, cotton picker, that's all hydro, man. Skid steer, hydrostat. Hydrostat's a good thing. Not saying necessarily it's better than a shuttle, but that's my personal preference as a hydrostat. Now, the further you push the pedal down, the faster the tractor goes. The faster the tractor goes, or anything else that you've ever owned, your pickup in 6th gear will run faster, but it's got less torque than it does in 1st. So as you mash the pedal down, you're raising your speed, but lowering your torque. So if you start up a hill and it starts bogging, you're not gonna mash the pedal further, you're gonna let off the pedal. You let off the pedal, that doesn't help. Hey, check your RPMs. You may be down here at 1,200 RPMs. That ain't gonna cut it. You gotta have some RPMs. That being said, even on a shuttle shift, you want RPMs. That's you shouldn't lug a diesel engine, it needs to run. All right, so there's a little explanation on the hydrostat. You do have your brakes still over here. Like I say, you'll set the park brake by mashing this brake here. You've got a park brake lever that just locks it. If I can mash it down hard enough with my hand. To release that, you just push it back with your foot, releases the park brake. This is cruise control, so you can mash your pedal down, wedge lock that up, and it's gonna stay. That way you can kind of stretch your leg, rest your leg, where you don't have to have your foot on it all the time. But like I say, to each his own. I'm not a fan of cruise control, but some people are. Tilt wheel. I like the tractor. This tractor was out in the rain last night, so that's what's coming off is rainwater. But I like the fact you've got a small tractor with tilt wheel, joystick mounted on the fender. There's some creature comforts that this tractor has got that I really, really, really do like. Okay, fuel. It's not in the center, it's more over to this side, so it is a little easier to put fuel in. You do have a strainer, use it. Buy fuel, they sell a bunch of it, put it in a good clean container. Like I say, make sure you put diesel fuel, not gas. Took gas out of one yesterday. But a customer's, not ours. But you want to make sure and buy fuel, they sell a bunch of it, so they've got a lot of turnover. If you put clean fuel in a dirty jug and you pour it in your tractor, you got dirty fuel in your tractor. Use the strainer. Make sure you're getting the best fuel you can. All right, let's get the loader raised up, get the hood, and I'll show you how to raise the hood and come in there for service. All right, I'm standing here doing something I never recommend anybody doing, stand under a loader bucket. Please do notice I do have a piece of angle iron keeping that from coming down. I do have the joystick locked. If you have to be under here, just don't be under here. Do something different. Block it up, make sure you're being safe. But show you this, I want to be able to get in here and you see this. To raise the hood, you've got a handle, little knob right here, just pull straight down. That releases the top part of the hood. You got two wing nuts here. You just loosen those. I'm not sure you can see in the video, but these are just notched, so this is gonna lean forward. Now you can easily remove this. You can quick couple some wires and just set it out of the way. For this video, there's no sense in doing that, so I'm just gonna leave it right there. Your air filter is easy to get to. Battery is easy to get to right under there. Now, if you did need to get to the battery, that's when you would disconnect your wires and set this out of the pegs and set it out of the way. Radiator cap's easy to get to. It does have an overflow jug. Again, I stress, I like to check at the radiator cap when the tractor is cold. On my personal tractor, I'm gonna check the engine oil, hydraulic fluid, radiator. I'm gonna check those whether I do anything else, okay? Better check fuel too. All right, you do have side panels. Really not a whole lot on this side over here, the left-hand side. When somebody talks about what side of the tractor it's on, they say left-hand side, or if you're talking to a dealer, they say left-hand side as you're sitting on the tractor driving it, okay? If you're standing at the back of the tractor, left-hand side. Stand at the front of the tractor, this is still the left-hand side because it's like you're sitting on the tractor. Got that? Now, you got little wing nuts right here. You're gonna take the wing nut out. Of course, you've got one on the other side panel as well. I always try to put that in my pocket so I don't drop it on the ground. You've got a peg. See if you can shoot right down here. I'm not sure you can see that in the dark. Does it show?
Yes, sir.
All right. You got a peg there. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna raise up, and at the back, you've got little pegs here that go in little rubber grommets back at the firewall. I'm gonna put this up out of the way. I don't like to put those side panels on the ground because you'll be on that side of the tractor and this one will be over here and you'll wind up running over it. And that's not gonna be a cheap thing that you wanna do every day. All right, this is your fuel filter. As you see water start coming up in here, that's when you're gonna unscrew this, dump it out, and prime it back up. Of course, this one you're just gonna prime up just with electric fuel pump, if I'm not mistaken, on this one. But it's kind of a self-primer. You don't have a button or anything to pump or anything like that. But eventually you'll have to replace that filter that's in there. That paper media in there is only gonna saturate so much water, okay? So as you see water start to collect, it always goes to the bottom. Dump it out, screw it back on there. Now, yes, to answer that question about the electric fuel pump, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but that clicking, that's the electric fuel pump that'll fill this back up. Now, right here is your oil filter. I've got my hand all the way around it, very easy to get to. Now here's the part that everybody has trouble finding. Where's my engine oil dipstick? Well, if you can find this filter, right behind the filter is the engine oil dipstick. Can you see it from a big hand? Right toward the firewall, right behind the engine oil filter is where your engine oil dipstick is. Not as easy to see in the dark. You can actually access it with the side panel on, but you may not ever get it back in the hole without the side panel being off. I just always take the side panel off to check it. Now, I think that pretty much covers the 1626. I'm sure I've left some stuff off, so if you got any questions, don't hesitate to call on us. Chris Murphy at Murphy Brothers in Booneville, Mississippi. Of course, we've also got other salesmen, Mr. Joe Lancaster. You might get my brother, Matt Murphy. Tim Hamby can help you a lot there. But just call us if you need us. The number is 662-720-0022, and we're right here in Booneville, Mississippi, right here in the northeast corner of Mississippi. Proud to sell these Mahindra tractors, and y'all come see us. Thank you.